Ready?
G'day everyone, and welcome back to Flock. I am your host, Lyle Swithenbank, at Lyle Swithenbank on Twitter, episode 3. We're flying, look at us go. Part of the Old Man Squad Sports Network, of course. Make sure you go and follow at Old Man Squad on Twitter. And go follow me as well if you feel like it. It's where you find all the episodes. It's where you'll find all the different Pels stuff that I do. I try to stay as active on there as possible, as most of you know. Firstly, shout out to all of you who have jumped on board from the very first episode. It's been really nice to reconnect with some people and start putting Pels podcast content out again. You know, I did some of those videos and things like that, and we'll keep those going because they're a bit of a laugh. But my true passion comes in talking Pels, and we start off on all of the audio apps. Maybe we'll go to YouTube later. I don't know. We'll see how we go. We'll see how I'm feeling before I try to muck around with all of my audio visual editing skills. We'll just stick to audio because that's what we know and love. But I digress. Welcome, Pels Chat. What are we going to talk about? Well, yesterday, for those tuning in, probably in New Orleans, was the draft. The second round of the draft. We had the first round the day before. One of the more bizarre setups that you'd ever had, and feedback from me, from a humble West Australian, is that it was not as good as it could have been. I thought the broadcast was average. For us, I woke up and the second round had already been done because it was like 4 a.m. our time, even earlier, I think. Sounded like it was at an awful time for the Americans as well. It was like in the middle of the day. And this is before I jump into talking about who the Pelicans drafted and how that all went, is overall, I just thought, keep it all together. You're flogging a dead horse in this. What was the point? Second rounders, like guys are getting drafted during ad breaks. No one really cares. It looked like there was no one there. Besides the guys who slipped into the second round, who were in the green room. Oh, heartbreaking. One of our own countrymen, young Furphy, Johnny Furphy, he fell to pick 35 in the second round. He was expected to be in the, in that late 20s, I think. Even some predicted in the lottery. I didn't know if that was going to be possible given how, lean he is and how raw, I suppose, as a player. But yeah, he fell to pick 35. Same as that Flipowski and that. I'm not touching any of that. If you want to have a look at what I'm referring to, go on the internet and you can dig into all the sort of carry on, for want of a better term, on the internet about why he sort of slipped and the debacle around his family and the like. But he fell into the second round, so they just had to go home, I guess. They just packed up. I wonder if they stacked their chairs beforehand. Surely that is part of it. End of the night, people help pack up, but I'm not sure because all the other guys are off celebrating. These guys sat there and, had to just go home. A bit underwhelming, I suppose, for those guys. But it was the Bronny James show on the second day from all reports. He got picked at pick 55. Everyone's very excited. He's cool, sit on the bench, whatever. Which, a lot of second round picks do. But anyway, I digress. Who did the Pelicans pick? Well, they started off with pick 21. We knew that after a Milwaukee Bucks pick swap put us to 21. They finished with pick 23, which was ours. And we selected Yves Missi out of Baylor. Having a look at the NOLA.com update of him. He's 6'11", 235 pound, centre at Baylor, and people actually thought that he was going to be a redshirt for his freshman season. He is 20 years old. He grew up in Belgium. He was born in Belgium, grew up in Cameroon, and then came across to the US in 2021. And he started playing organised basketball for about for about 3 years. So we've seen some similarities already with the late start to some other previous centres that we've drafted. However, is he the same player as said, previous, now gone centres? No, he is not. There are some questions about him, of course. You're picking at pick 21. If you can get a high upside guy and if you actually hit on him, well, you're laughing. But you haven't given up a massive... It's not like you've lost a top 10 pick on this guy. You've got one much later in the first round, and he fills a need. We needed a centre. We drafted a centre. Were there any others around? Yeah, some smaller guys, but this is the one that they were targeting. After the draft, they had the press conference with Griff and Bryson, and we'll get into some of the comments later on in the show. But basically, to summarise in regards to Yves, Bryson, the new GM, newly appointed, and we'll chat about him as well in a minute. He was his first pick as the Pelicans general manager, and he'd seen this guy back at the end of last year, around October, and said that he sort of cut a bit of a figure in the team. He looked really good, and they said he could be a good player. And having him available at pick 21, I think they were pretty happy with. They managed to get him, and were really... I think they were happy with that. I mean, they wouldn't have drafted him otherwise. So I put out on Twitter, and you may have seen it, and it got mixed responses. And I don't follow college basketball at all. But let's just start with that. I follow the NBL and I follow the NBA. That's all. I know about Alex Sarp because he played for my team. That's the extent of my knowledge. Now, I asked what this guy Missi was like, and we got some mixed reviews. People are saying he's developing. One guy, a good friend of mine and host of the All Rookie podcast, responded to me that he was comps for like a raw Clint Capella, and I think that's pretty good. Like, if he gets to a Clint Capella level, then that's great. Now, issues around rebounding, maybe gets a bit excited trying to block everything instead of getting in good rebounding position. Those are things that you can teach. It doesn't sound like he's fundamentally flawed or anything. It's just about learning. And Griff made the comment that he's a quick study and that his learning and ability to improve is pretty impressive. So we hope that's the case. He's going to be... Well, currently it's Larry Nance and him as the two centers on the roster, so he's going to have to contribute. And they referred to him as Derek Lively twice. They were like, we need that guy, like a Derek Lively type. I was like, well, you could have just drafted him if you had had a bit of nous about you and gone after him, but instead, hindsight's 2020. Not to say that Jordan Hawkins wasn't a good pick. You just got to pick who's available. Now, if he turns into a player like that, that's fantastic. Stand in the dunker spot, set hard screens, rebound, and dunk. And defend the basket. That's what we wanted. Rim protection. Everyone was saying rim protection. Jonas can't rim protect. So we've got a guy that's, near on 7 foot. He's a big unit. And he can rim protect. So that's what we want. We've ticked a box there. Now, will he contribute from day one? It sounds like no. It sounds like he's a bit of a project. He's pretty raw. And, with 3 years of professional basketball, or organised basketball, you can imagine that will take a bit of time. Now, if you keep it simple for him, set screens, roll to the basket, and you put the ball near where he can catch it and dunk it in, well, you don't need to be too clever to do that, to be fair. You can be pretty raw as long as you know to set screens, roll to the basket. Don't overdo it. And it sounds like that's what he can do. And I had a look at some of his highlights because we drafted the guy, so I was like, well, what's this guy like? He's a big man. Like, he's going to set screens. He seems to attack the basket. He likes to dunk. But he also seems to have pretty quick feet in that he doesn't mind attacking his opponent. He's surprisingly mobile. And even Griff said, we haven't had a player like that at his size do the athletic things that he'd done in that training when he came and visited New Orleans. So that excites me, that we need a big, strong athlete, and hopefully that is him, and he can continue to develop, and we'll see how he goes. But welcome, Yves. It fills one of the spots. Does that mean that we don't go out and get a starting centre? No, I think you still have to go and fill a need while this guy develops. I don't think he turns into a starter this year. It doesn't sound like anyone else thinks that either. But there's potential. And I won't rule out a guy because he's, only played 2 or 3 years of basketball. I want to see what he can do. And if we keep it simple and put him in positions to be successful, maybe you get a point guard that could hand him the ball, I think you'll be okay. So, watch this space, we'll watch this guy, and we'll see how we go. And we'll obviously, as we get through the season, we'll keep tabs on Yves and see how he's going and whether he gets off the bench, who knows. But there might be some time down in Birmingham. He'll probably spend a fair chunk down there and really develop and get stronger and learn the game, and we'll report back. That's what we're here for. So, what else happened? So we finished that night. We got into the second round, and Griff did a bit of foreshadowing. He says if we see a guy that we like, we may jump back into the second round. And lo and behold, the Pelicans trade in for the 47th overall pick and draft Antonio Reeves out of Kentucky. Now, this guy's played like 5 years of college basketball. So he played 3 years at Illinois State, and then he transferred to Kentucky for his final 2 years. In the season just gone, he averaged 20 points and he shot 45% from three. So we love that. We love we love a 3-point shooting king. Now, the past season, he also earned all SEC first team honors. Things you love to hear, and that's as reported by Fox 8 on their website as well. Now, as I said, and you guys know this, I'm a fan, so I'm going through these articles that other people have done, and I'm going to credit them. I'm not breaking this news. This is just information that I gather. So make sure you support your local news reporters too. But anyway, I digress. This was by Madeline Adams, great reporter for Fox 8 there. Now, this 47th overall pick was with the Orlando Magic. We gave it up. 2 future pick swaps in 2030 and 2031. Now, what that means is that you didn't actually give up a pick, you just swapped spots. So, you trade a pick 47, and then in 2030, if the Magic is worse than us, they'll get our pick and we'll get their pick. And so we just pick in different spots, and then we do it again in 2031. So we don't lose a second round pick, we just swap spots with them, and they get to pick before us. Now, with second round picks being the hottest commodity, and you can actually listen to Jake Madison on Locked On Pels, who talked about the cap stuff today in the second apron, and I'm not going to get into that because I'm not going to wrap my head around it on a Friday afternoon. But what that means is that second round picks are more valuable now, and unfortunately we traded a heap of them to get off of Devontae's contract, woohoo, and now we've got to sort of refill the war chest on those second round picks. So if you don't have to give one up and you can acquire them just with swaps and things like that, well, that's great because they're valuable now. They make sure that you can get cheap guys at the end of the draft who don't have massive guaranteed contracts. So that is always great to have while people work out the new cap rules. So this guy, he's a bit older, but he seems like a great scorer. Off-ball scorer, 6'5" guard, shoots the hell out of the ball. Someone put up a tweet showing a heap of floaters that he'd done. That getting into the lane is really exciting. Because what he does is attack the basket, but he doesn't force it. So sometimes he'll attack the basket. Sometimes he'll attack with a floater. Sometimes he'll do a little pull-up. He can come off screens. He's an off-ball scorer. So for me, he can create his own shot. He's a scorer. He doesn't assist. And that's okay. Because people can put you in a position to be successful. And if you get on the court, well, make sure you take your shots when you get them. And he looks like a guy that can score the basketball. So I have no issues with that. Shoots the hell out of the ball. So I look forward to seeing what he can do. All in all, great Great draft, okay? Like, I had no hopes coming into this, and I think there was a lot of speculation around the Brandon Ingram trade and whether or not that would happen before the draft, or July 6th, which is the re-signing deadline. Like, there's a whole heap of times that I think people, overcook as deadlines. I mean, Donovan Mitchell didn't get traded until end of September, early October last year. Guys, your roster isn't always set by the draft. I mean, we love that. We'd love to have a whole off-season where guys can work together, but it doesn't work that way. If he does get traded, and more on Griff's comments in a second regarding that, it'll happen as it happens, and we've got to get the right value for the guy if we are to trade him, or they work out negotiations, and it seems like it's pretty tight-lipped as to how those are going. Whether he re-signs, whether he doesn't, I don't know. I like Brandon Ingram. He's had some great moments here. I also recognise that the team underperformed this year, even with 49 wins. You have to be uber competitive, and complacency won't get you anywhere. So I see it from all sides. I'll support whoever's got the New Orleans written across the front. That's the reality. But I do like Brandon Ingram. So, also like Zion. So this is not me saying I like this guy but not that guy. I like everyone. But I'll support who's there. Support the team. Now, I digress. I got off topic. You guys threw me out. Now, Bryson. So what we were introduced to was Bryson Graham. He's been at the Pelicans for 15 years. Started as an intern, worked his way up the different levels until he took Trajan's spot. Soft-spoken, humble, direct in his answers, considered, and seemed like a really nice guy. I've never met him, but he really came across like a guy that I bet he's a great person to work for. To be fair, I honestly do. He seems like that sort of guy, and he seemed really knowledgeable. He said some things about different players and things, and it means he understands the game of basketball, which you have to as a general manager, as well as understanding the realities of the business. And I think having those two is such a great and unique archetype, I suppose, for want of a better term, in a GM. You want to have someone that understands both and to get the most out of their players and to pick guys that they have faith in, that they think that they can see potential in. So, really happy with that. Wasn't the traditional, I suppose, press conference that he would have. Instead, it was more introducing Yves Missi. There was a little bit of grifting. He was spitting his words without saying much. But Bryson was great. I thought he was excellent. I think he's awesome for the role. Really happy for him. And you love the internal promotions. Side note, Swin Cash then goes into VP, into that old role that he had. So fantastic. This is Griff intimated that there would be some more movements in the front office, and well, that's pretty awesome. So we'll see what happens there, and maybe they bring in some fresh blood that means we can get an outsider's perspective. I think you need to have that. You need to have that freshness now and then. Otherwise, you get stagnant. But good on Bryson for obtaining that role. Now, segue into the press conference that was Griff, Bryson, Griff griffing, Bryson being welcomed. They introduced Yves. They said they were really happy about him. Griff, spouted out that he's a great human. We love humans here. We don't draft people that aren't. So that's been really good that he's found another nice human to have on his team. And say it again, I guess. But he relies on characters, right? He gets nice characters in there. He gets guys that can contribute to the locker room. He doesn't want people with any nonsense going on. And that, I think, is a good way to be. It means that you don't have any dickheads in your locker room. Sometimes you need that to keep people on their toes. But if you have people that are happy to call each other out and hold each other accountable, then you don't really need someone to just cause a ruckus to get people going. When you have probably a few of those energy guys off the bench anyway. Now, what else did he talk about? He talked about the apron, And that's the new cap setup. So said we're not an apron team, which basically means that we'll have full access to all of the, I suppose, extra bonuses that you get from not being an apron team. We're not even close to it. It's based on the amount of salary that you have at the end of each season. And again, I direct you to Jake on Locked On for that great breakdown that he did, because I don't get right into it. But what I did find interesting was his comments on Brandon. I don't know who asked it. It might have been Fletcher. Asked how the discussions with Brandon as an extension were going. And Griff was a bit cagey about it. He said, I'm not really getting into that. And so they pushed him, and then he did. So that was quite interesting. He said Brandon wants to be here, loves being here, he likes what we're going. We love Brandon, and we like having him here. But there's a financial reality, and to me, that doesn't commit either which way, right? It's 6 and 2 threes in this sort of wishy-washy answer that he gave, and what you find in that situation is, he's negotiating via the media, right? Well, we love him, and you keep the fan base happy. You're not going to throw anyone out. You also want him to say, oh, well, if everyone loves me, well, maybe I'll take less money to stay here. And I'm sure there's been a number presented in front of him that said that he's gone, oh, well, I know I can get 208 odd million, 150 million, 180, 190 million. That's a lot of millions that you didn't give me. And, these are all just numbers I plucked out of the air, not that that's what's been proposed, but perhaps it means that there's a shorter extension. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to watch this space as how the summer unfolds. I don't think they can go into this season, and I hope they don't, because otherwise that becomes a distraction. With Brandon in the last year of his contract, no extension, I don't think you want to play that game, because it's a deadline-based league. If you get to the trade deadline and you haven't traded him, you lose all the power. If you haven't re-signed him, you lose all the power. Do not let it get into next summer. We don't want to play this game. We've done that. We've mucked around. I don't think Brandon's the personality of the last guy that mucked around like this, but you just want to avoid it. So let's try to get some sort of resolution, whether that is for the big fish that, that's been all over Twitter in Trae Young, or whether it's for some other pieces or something that helps you build the roster out. I don't know. But you've got to get a decent haul. We saw Mikal Bridges go for a whole heap of draft collateral. He's a good number 3. He showed he can't be a number 1. Or that he will only do it sporadically. They got heaps for him. 2-way player, never been an all-star. Brandon's been an all-star, and he's a number 1 at times. Can he be a number 1 on a championship contender? Well, so far, no. But could he be a great number 2? Well, potentially. We don't know, because we've never been even close to that. But that's the sort of haul I'm looking at. Even if it's a little bit less, you either get an A grader or a B plus player and less picks, or you get that haul. I don't know if you want to lean into a rebuild yet. That was the Nets' decision. I don't think we're ready for that. I think you want to try to maximise Zion while he's on this big contract before he goes to unrestricted free agency. We've got a few years before that, but you want to really maximise that and show that you're serious about winning. I don't think it's time for a rebuild, at least not this year. But I look forward to seeing how this plays out, and the way Griff sort of intimated it. We all know what he's like. It feels like there's definitely something cooking along. Whether or not it comes to fruition, he's saying they're being aggressive, that the roster can change, and that the roster's not setting, and that that it's not set, and that they're set on winning. Let's see it. And we're in June. Summer League, a lot of stuff happens. That's in the next week. I think the Californian one starts the week after next, and then we roll into Orlando. Then we roll into, or maybe not Orlando, maybe it's Utah, and then into Las Vegas. And there's going to be wheeling and dealing during that too. So there's still a lot of time and a lot of water under the bridge to happen before we get to this point. If you recall, when Wiggins was traded for Kevin Love, he didn't sign that rookie deal for yonks until they were ready to until they traded him. So it doesn't happen immediately. There's lots of moving parts that happen in the off season. They can drag out different timelines and things like that. But it'll be interesting. I think it's watch this space, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. But overall, I mean, Yves joined the team. Antonio joins the team. Worst comes to worst, Antonio maybe ends up on a 2-way contract, goes and plays down in Birmingham a bit. I think Missi's going to be down there a bit as well. So, the squadron get some good players, and they get to develop these players. And that's what the whole reason the squadron's there, is to get the reps into these guys. As to whether or not they turn into key rotational pieces, I don't know. None of us do, but that's the beauty of the draft. Now, one thing, just before I wrap up, is to congratulate all of the guys that came out of the NBL this year, the Australian League. We had 4 guys drafted out of the NBL this year. He had another Aussie just signed to a 2-way. Another guy from the NBL signed to a summer league deal with the Clippers. Honestly, it's awesome to see the expansion of this league and watching these young guys and the Next Stars program really thrive, and credit to the guys that put that together, because it's putting Australian basketball on the map. We're seeing more and more guys come through. A couple of early players. We had Alex Sarr, who played for my Perth Wildcats. He went pick 2, and that was probably only because he refused to work out for Atlanta. Maybe not. But that, to me, is a testament to the hard work that goes into it and to the reputation of the league. I think it's probably the second best development league, maybe the French league, since every single French guy, the French guy was every second pick this year. That, to me, is a testament to what they're doing there. And so credit to that. And I know the Perth Wildcats have just about to announce, I saw on Twitter, about to announce a replacement for Alex Sarr in a Next Star this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. But otherwise, I think we'll leave it at that. It's been an interesting couple of days with the draft. We've got guests coming up next week, so keep an eye out for that. I'm very excited to unveil that in due course. But otherwise, enjoy your weekend. Hopefully this got you through your early commute into work on your Friday. I know we're almost there. It's almost the weekend, but anyway, I digress. I am your host, Lyle Swithenbank, all the way from Perth, Western Australia. This is Flock, at Lyle Swithenbank on Twitter, at Old Man Squad if you want to follow the Umbrella page as well. I've been advised they do follow back too, so if you need a follower, go and do that. Otherwise, if you can like and subscribe on the show, wherever you're listening from, give us a 5-star review to help us grow. We appreciate it immensely while we get this show flying. And without further ado, bye for now.
Ready?